Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for The Expanse Season 5 on Amazon. And this turned out to be my least favorite season of The Expanse so far. Now, that does not mean to say that it is the worst thing that I've ever seen. If you go through my channel with other different reviews for other different shows, there are far worse things that I have seen and had to go through. Supernatural, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Game of Thrones Season 8. Culmination-wise. But there were some problems that popped up in this season that really did not need to be there. And I kind of caught up with this to the point where I was pretty much ready for this last episode to come out. Otherwise, I would have started doing it like episode by episode, but the way my kind of thing popped out with how I was doing my reviews, it's like, hey, I was able to get done right at the end. And I'm glad I kind of did, because the ending here helped get me to the point where I could kind of view overall what my main kind of problem is with this season. And that pretty much kind of gets down to the villain of Marco Inaros. And strangely enough, after watching it and kind of like ruminating and thinking about what was going on and also talking about it with other people, I kind of figured out what my kind of problem is. One of the main kind of core problems with him is that he is kind of a filler villain, especially with what we start getting through at the end of this. It's almost like he is tooled around, waiting around for the next kind of thing to drop. Now, I bring this filler thing up because when you see this a lot more in kind of like action battle anime and anime in general, where sometimes you will have this giant ass arc going on, which we've had in The Expanse. Pretty much I would put all of season 1 through 3 as technically one kind of continuous arc where it's very driven and things just hit and fire on all cylinders. There really is little in there that I could be like, hey, that's kind of filler. Season 4 kind of like gets its footing and kind of gets a little bit more what's the repercussions of the rings and everything like that. And this one, it's very kind of, even though we have had multiple storylines going on, this one we have it kind of scattered in different directions, pretty much trying to loop back into what the next kind of main thing is. So with that anime example, sometimes when an anime is adapted, the manga, like the source material that it's being based off of, isn't completely finished yet. So what that leads to is that they then have to go off book and off script and have to essentially create a scenario that will get you from point A to point B without changing the status quo vastly enough that it would affect that point B story, like affect that point B place. So that way the story can continue in its kind of natural, kind of organic form, depending upon what that next arc entails, if you need certain villains or whatnot. And that's one of the big issues. The other issue I have with Marco Inaros is a complaint I usually have with shows, and it seems that like anytime you get to like a season 5 kind of place, what I call the plot demands strikes. And what occurs is, normally you'd have characters acting in a certain way, and you'd have organic, character-driven kind of things going on. Now, granted, the plot demands hits in this point, but it is not at the kind of horrendous, fucking, just disgusting levels of, like, character assassination that we have gotten in other mediums. But you see a lot of that stuff going on here. Because as this pops off, we see that Marco Inaros is the focus. We see that this science ship is pretty much tracking the stealth rocks. Like, what the fuck's going on with these asteroids, man? And then, of course, we see that Philip, his son, him and Naomi's son, pretty much takes out and kills those people, takes their ship, and be like, rah. And he even lets a person die because they got their foot stuck and the rocks were coming. But they've been tracking these, and I'm like, okay. When your plot pretty much predicates on characters getting kind of like at least momentarily dumb. Like, how could we go through the first 4 seasons and somebody wouldn't be like, what if they fucking stealth teched rocks and threw them at us? Now, with Nancy as the new Secretary General of the UN and probably trying to get her administration into a new, different kind of order, sure, they could have done that better. But it's like, okay, why didn't anybody think that they could stealth tech that kind of stuff? Because that is a low-cost option of creating mass havoc and anarchy. And it's just kind of weird that nobody kind of thought of that. And there's little bits and pieces that kind of go on throughout that. That's the biggest kind of main thing that goes on. The other thing is, his story, which is given so much prominence in what's going on in this season, doesn't draw me in as much as what's going on with Mars and everything, and you don't even get that kind of info until the last fucking episode. You get it stretched out throughout the season, but you don't really get as much kind of immediate info drops that you usually would get in previous seasons. Excuse me. So it's all kind of waiting till the end. And it's like, well, that kind of explains a lot of things, and why the fuck was that not done at some other point throughout the season to, I don't know, make it so that way you have kind of more of an understanding of what's going on. Because you get a certain... Mars acts kind of really screwed up, because previous season we've seen that Mars is selling off certain weapons, and it gets escalated because Bobby's looking into it, and her investigation leads to them actually giving fucking warships to Marco and Aros, and you don't get information upon why that's being done until the last episode. Fuck. So those are kind of the bits and pieces, and I'll get more in depth on those certain things as we're going through, but overall there were still good character moments. Amos, fucking great. Naomi, well, see, Amos's story has like the best kind of thing and the best kind of payoffs, and actually is kind of the most tightly done, in my opinion. When you're kind of looking at it holistically, it's like, okay, cool. Holden's kind of whole thing is pretty much predicated on waiting around for certain things and other characters to happen. It's really kind of weird. His was kind of one of the weakest kind of ones. Naomi's was interesting in trying to figure out her feelings and everything going on with Marco and Aros and her son Philip. But it then devolves into just her getting like screwed over a lot before she eventually kind of gets out of it. And I'm like, okay, it borders on just like the torture porn kind of aspect of like just beating that unmerciless shit out of something, and I need a little bit more balance. I don't mind seeing someone fail and all those different kind of failures, but when it's failure on failure on failure, and you're just like hammering that point home, it's like, it's kind of like when I was watching The Boys. I don't need to see 36 different types of Homelander drinking, like, milk really weird. I fucking got that on the third one. You know? It's balance of how it needs to go out. Let's see. Bobby and Alex's, because Alex hooks up into that as well, is pretty interesting. And Abasarala's is done pretty well in the background. Drummer stuff is pretty cool as well. That hooks into like the Marco and Aros stuff. It all kind of hooks into that main thing. But it's like, alright, so we see. So they're all trying to figure out what's going on with everything. We see that Holden and Naomi are on Tycho because the Rocinante's been beat to fucking shit. And Fred Johnson and them are just kind of help them out. Alex has decided to go and have a leave and visit Mars. Amos has decided to take leave and visit Earth to go into Baltimore. So that's kind of cool because then we get to see another kind of Earth city that we don't usually see. They usually kind of stick to New York, so it was kind of cool to see that kind of change up in scenery. Let's see. Of course, we see Bobby on Mars doing her thing and getting frustrated. That's pretty much where everybody kind of starts. So we've got, of course, the asteroids being like spun up. Avasarala is pretty much shouting to anyone that can listen, Marco Nars is going to do something. Yeah. I mean, she's not going around being like, the sky is falling, but Nancy Gao and the rest of them are just like, yeah, just fucking sit on the moon, you bitch. And that's their attitude towards it. And we pretty much spin around a little bit until the asteroids that were thrown in season 4 start like fucking shit up. And it's like, holy shit. But before we get to that point, we see that Amos is in Baltimore. Why is that important? Because of where the asteroids hit. So he goes, and we learn that he is from Baltimore. He is visiting because his like foster mother Lydia has died, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. He finds her boyfriend Charles, who's living there now. They have their kind of like awkwardness because Amos is to the point and everything, and trying to figure out what's going on. Wants to know if he made her happy and all that. And he's like, I guess. I mean, only person that can really tell you if they're happy or not is the person in question. I'm like, I tried. And of course, he is going to be kicked out of his house because it was gifted to Lydia. And he's like, you know what, stay here. Amos, of course, in his way, throws around his name and wants to get in contact with whoever is pretty much going to try and kick him out. We then learn that Amos was pretty much in the underbelly of Baltimore, used as in like child sex trafficking and all that. There was like this line talking about how when he was too old for the Johns, they would try and move him to be an enforcer. And we see throughout his different points in the story, at least in Baltimore, this woman and this kid talking, and of course that's him as he was younger, Lydia, and she's trying to help him out. She knows she's not a good person, but she's trying to do her best to try and help Amos out as well. And we kind of see that's kind of the beginning of him having to deal with all of the horrendous shit that's been going on with him. It's never explicitly stated, but it's enough there to be like, so this is why he views threats as he does and takes them out as tactically as he does. He is not flashy in that because if he sees a threat, he was in a world and in a portion where if you did not act upon that threat, it was most likely going to be trouble for you. So he then is in contact with the head kind of crime boss. He's like, oh shit, yeah, he can stay there. I don't have a problem. Because throwing around the Amos Burton, evidently Amos Burton was the name of the person that was like the head boss, and Amos took him out, and this person, Eric, took his place as the kind of crime boss dude. He, of course, created a new identity for Amos, whose real name is Timothy, and he, of course, went off to leave. And, of course, they had their little conversation. He's like, I thought you were here to kill me. He's like, no, I just want you to take care of the dude. That's all. It's like, yeah, fine, whatever. But if you ever come back here, I'm going to kill you. He's like, yeah, you do you, man. And he takes, like, a bottle of alcohol with him. And his portion then goes on to, he's like, hey, Chrissy, I'm going to need your help. Because that was kind of great because he ended up on Luna first. Avasarala's like, are you going to be making problems on her? No, Chrissy. And he's like, don't call me that. I'm a member of Parliament, not a stripper. And he's like, you could be both. That was just fucking pure Amos. And I'm like, god damn. Because I'd always kind of wanted to see how Amos and Avasarala would interact with one-on-one, and it did not disappoint. I really liked their scene together there. And, of course, who does he want to visit? Well, he had been talking with Clarissa Mao in the opening episode, and he evidently took a... They hit it off, not like big way, but to a point where he allowed her to have her choice. Like, he left her unguarded pretty much in an airlock, and if she wanted to take herself out, she could. But she's like, no, I'm going to do this, go through it, take everything they give nothing back kind of thing. and that's the person that he wants to visit. So he goes to the penitentiary. Of course, leaves everything back. She, of course, is augmented, so she's in the lowest level. We see this one dude that's like, "Rrr!" And he goes, visits her, tells her everything that had happened in season 4, and it is like the best explanation ever because it's like no frills. Like, she's like, "Oh, that had to have been so awesome," and he's like, "Not really with the like eye eating like bacteria kind of things, the fucking killer slugs, the alien tech trying to kill us and everything. It was pretty fucked up, man." No, granted, he tells it in his own Amos fashion, but it's really kind of cool. So that's where that happens going on. Let's see. Alex pretty much pops in. I'm doing this to try and like pinpoint him into their how shall I say, story anchor points. Yeah, let's go with that. So Alex gets to Mars, pretty much gets shut down by his wife, well, ex-wife. She's like, "I'm not gonna give you your closure, man." Boom. So he then tries to get in contact with Bobby, and of course they go to pretty much a Texan cowboy themed bar. But Bobby's pissed off because she's not having the luck that she's needed getting to like the head of the organization, because it's pretty much gotten to the point where most of her leads are exhausted. She's been able to buy power armor, which is a big kind of thing, from this contact, and she's pretty much convinced it's linked to an admiral high up in the chain. Now, granted, high up enough that they could get away with this, but not high up enough to draw unwanted attention on themselves. So Alex is like, "All right, I'll kind of help you out," because it was this admiral dude, Saboteur, something like that. And he, of course, is lecturing at the college, and of course, we see him pretty much alluding to him being kind of like a dillhole. Now, it's not like overly explicit, but he's talking about like times changing and kind of going with those kind of flows and everything. Of course, Alex strikes out with him, but not with Lieutenant Babbage, his personal handler, pretty much. So they go off. She, of course, wants to know everything about the proto-molecule and everything, and Alex doesn't really get up on the fact that she's pretty much stroking his ego and all that, and pretty much giving her all the information. But granted, Alex is not a spy. Bobby didn't begin as a spy either. She was pretty much what you would term a Martian grunt. Just, I'm the gunny, I'm going to beat shit, I'm going to shoot shit, I'm going to do shit. Whereas here, from her like season 4 kind of path, she's had to learn subtlety and learn espionage spycraft, working both by herself and for Avasarala. Alex does not have that, and pretty much regales her with the tales and everything. Does try and get some information out of her, but is not as successful because he's not trained in that, and Babbage seems to be more trained in that. So he walks her back. He pretty much gets back to his room, and two assailants are like, "Why are you looking into this dude?" Pretty much get ready to like take his ass out. Gave him some kind of like truth serum kind of thing, but Bobby's able to pop up at the right time and just knock him out and get him arrested. And they're like, "That's not good." Of course, she's going on a supply run, and they're like, that would link up. So they decide to tail her and figure out what's going on with the supplies. Linking up one more time. Okay. Back on Tycho, we've got Holden and Naomi pretty much doing their kind of stuff. Naomi gets the information that they've got some info on her son Philip. He's on Palace Station, and she's going to go off and do that by herself. Holden wants to be there to support her, but he understands that she needs to go do this alone, so she goes with this freighter that she bought. I thought she had chartered it, but she bought it. Gets to Palace Station, meets two of her kind of old comrades, Sin and Carol, I think. They pretty much didn't say her name enough for me to really kind of get it stuck in my head, but like, she was annoying enough. And, of course, they have reminisce about their old times being together. Sin, of course, is more amiable and misses her more than Carol, and he does his best to get Philip to see her. He doesn't believe a word she says, and pretty much is like, "Screw you, you left our family." And of course, from what we've seen of Marco and Naris being the egotistical cockhead that he is, and how manipulative he is, it doesn't take kind of being like 1+1 to figure out 2 that he would do that kind of shit to him. She, of course, is like, alright, fine, you can hate me, whatever. I've got this shit for you, just go and do what you want. Of course, Philip's like, you know what? I'm gonna kidnap you and take the ship. It's like, well, fuck. Of course, Marco and Aris is like, what the fuck are you doing, kid? Why did you bring her here? He, of course, tries to play it to his advantage, but he's like, whatever, fine. Other person we gotta link up to, Drummer. She pretty much is able to find Ashford's ship and find the recording and figures out what's going on. And not that it's asteroids, but that it's bigger. Forwards it to Fred Johnson. That, of course, gets forwarded to Avasarala as she's pretty much trying to scream to anybody, shit's going real. And let's see. She also takes Ashford's old ship, repairs it, and has her own fleet, as she has this crew that they're in like a polyamorous relationship with, where they're all kind of together with each other, which was an interesting thing to see. But you see that tribal dynamics kind of take into effect, because Oksana, her main squeeze within this group, or the one you see her with the most, pretty much hides shit from her, is kind of like a shadow captain, I would term it. It's not like she wants to be in charge, but she tries to keep everybody together no matter what, even though doing some frankly stupid fucking shit. Of course, that then lines up to the pivotal events of everything going on. So we see that the stealth rocks were thrown, and one of them impacts Earth, and then we get the rolling effect that Amos is there. He's visiting Clarissa. Then another one hits, and another one hits. So out of his 9, 3 hit Earth before Avasarala is listened to, and they are able to use their orbital guns to take out 3 of them, and 3 of them were misses. However, in the ensuing chaos of the asteroid hits, Gao's plane gets kind of cracked out, even though she was just in the part of pretty much listening to and taking the advice from Avasarala, who's still on Luna. And then that starts to create a power vacuum. She's like, who's going on? What's going on here? Also, in this effect, we get the, like, footnote fucking fart-ass thing going on, that this is just one of the things going on. And the one that really sucks is that the Martian parliamentary got blown up, but it is used so sparingly, and we don't even, like, go into that. Another big kind of miss of this season, and what's going on in this story-wise, is we need a Martian government perspective, because, okay, you told me that the Martian parliamentary had an explosion. We don't know who died, what happened, or what's going on with the Martian government. We just know from this side that, like, Martian military is going fucking AWOL and fucking giving shit to Marco and Naros, which, why the fuck would they be, like, arming a terrorist? It doesn't make any sense, because we're not giving any perspective for what's going on. There is a difference between mystery and being like, we kind of need this perspective, because as this season goes on, we don't get that kind of information until later on. And it's just nuts. You're like, okay, that's kind of funny weird. But that then links up with what's going on Tycho Station. This one at least gave the Belter perspective at least kind of more kind of weight for what's going on, because he hit Earth, he hit Mars, and he hit Tycho with Fred Johnson, because the engineer person that has been pretty much retrofitting the Rocinante decided to go, I'm nutty, and take out Fred Johnson. Now, while this has been going on, Holden has been talking with Monica, the documentary chick. She's like, shit's going on with the protomolecule. I was like, what's going on with the protomolecule? Of course, he brings that up to Fred Johnson. Fred Johnson's like, I got it. It's safe. Whatever. Of course, she gets information that Cortazar has been taken. It's like, we need to fucking do this. But the minute she, like, sends that info out, she gets kidnapped, and Holden and one of the other kind of people involved with Tycho Station, Bull, have to go and kind of rescue her. I do like the addition of Bull. He's interesting and just kind of how do I put it? He's kind of argumentative and kind of a weird kind of dude. Not like Amos. He's got a little bit more of a, how would I put it? He doesn't want to be in his position, but he will deal with the shit and get it done as much as possible to get it off of his plate, because he took the job with Fred Johnson because he had a lot of debt. Fred's like, I'll take care of your debt. He's like, fine. And he's an earther, says a lot of bad shit about the Belters, which becomes important because he's working with Holden. Holden calls him out for the shit. He's like, on the ship, no more of that shit. And you actually see him kind of change that. It was kind of cool, and I like that kind of character interaction. But we see this comes into effect that Holden pretty much had to wait there for shit to go down. Well, Fred Johnson pretty much gets assassinated, and we find out that he was keeping the protomolecule sample in his room. Okay. It figured more into a plot demands of they're trying to hit and get the protomolecule for reasons. We think it's more of a kind of nuclear deterrent kind of option, as we are at least led to believe after Marco does this gloating kind of speech thing. So she pretty much goes in there and tries to do all that kind of shit and uses this kind of spider thing. They were able to rescue Monica from a dire situation before this shit kind of started going down, and she kind of helps Holden out, but of course the protomolecule is taken, but the engineering chick isn't able to leave, and she's like, oh yeah, gloating as well. And they find out that the Samaya that had pretty much taken the protomolecule, they're able to kind of track it down. Now, here's another part where the kind of plot demands kind of starts to get kind of funky. After these kind of events, Marco, of course, does his whole gloating thing about what's going on, and saying the belt's free. You guys have your sovereignty on your planets, even though launching rocks at them kind of proves otherwise. And that we are now free. Good for the belt kind of shit. And the thing is, it's like, okay, you're kind of using these ring worlds as your thing of we can procure water and air from any place now. Which Illis has shown that, if you're not careful, you're gonna get fucking microbes that are gonna eat your fucking eyeballs and slugs that are gonna fucking kill you with a touch. And this motherfucker wants to fucking launch shit at Earth. The only place that we have seen humans come from, and the only place that would have safe water and safe air. It's gonna fuck up the environment, throwing out the asteroids like that. It's gonna fuck up the soil and everything. It's like, oh, yeah. He even alludes to when Drummer is pretty much brought in to be like, swear fealty to me! And some of the recruitmates are like, but what about food and shit? It's like, oh, we got this dude from Ganymede that'll be, the years will be lean in the beginning, but we'll be able to output more than Earth in about 10 years. I'm like, bullshit! I don't care what you're pulling out your ass. That's fucking nuts. Granted, I understand campaign promises, but this is a weird fucking terrorist out in the middle of nowhere with fucking gifted Martian warships being like a flea in the Mississippi telling them to raise the bridge because it's got a fucking raging hard-on. Yeah, you're fucking your shit up, dude. And never mind the fact that nobody fucking asks what the goddamn rings want or what the protomolecule wants. Nobody stops to be like, okay, these ring things, why does it put us in these places? What is it objective? They just fucking go through, I'ma jam my finger in this light socket. And it's not like, where's this electricity coming from? Why should I do this? Also, sidebar with the rings. In the beginning, we see that Okie from season 4 has been looking more into what's going on with that weird kind of anomaly. They fucking sent rodents and other mammals through, and they either became catatonic or fucking died. And that they were able to look and see what was going on. They see these weird kind of strange entities, and Holden is warning people, using these ring things are waking these fucking things up. That's important at the end, because that seems to be the next kind of boss check, that the next kind of villain kind of thing. Now granted, that could mean that they'd have to team up with the protomolecule, because the only objective we've seen is that the protomolecule wants to know what happened to the builders and what the fuck is actually the state of going on. Those are the two main objectives that we've seen. We don't know if it's got any other kind of things, if it could do anything to its other own devices. And I'm like, I kind of would rather have want this rather than fucking crazy ass douche man going through. Now, granted, I have nothing against the actor. It's the execution of this and what he is given content wise. He's fine. I got no beef with him. I gotta make that clear. So, Dum Dum and like Marco Inaros is pretty much winning at pretty much everything. We don't really get any failures that really kind of truly hamper him throughout this whole thing. He still achieves pretty much every objective he has, and anything else that he fails at is like a side quest that would have given you a pixie fart that turns you into a unicorn. It's cool to have, but it doesn't change much. That's a strange one even for me. That just popped into my head, and you could see as we're going on, it's like, okay, he kind of fails at certain things, but it doesn't like, it's not a big kind of fucking failure. He still wins everything towards the end. So, he's going ha ha ha. Nancy Gal's pretty much out. Amos and Clarissa are kind of fucked up underneath because of the asteroids hit. Alex and Bobby are still following the ships, finds out that they're pretty much being given the ships, like, ah, shit. They, of course, commiserate over pretty much the death of what they believe Mars is, because doing this is fucking insanity on any kind of scale, and that government would have to be like, you'd be like, fuck that shit, why the fuck are you doing this? And of course, they get chased around by a Belcher ship, and they only get away because Alex is like, hey, my core, boom, and blasts their asses pretty smartly. Yeah, it pretty much stops at a certain point, so then they pretty much try and hook up with the Rocinante afterwards. Let's see, that's correct. I was going for another plot demands. That I had to get that important because Naomi is now a prisoner on there. Is like, fucking shit, this is disgusting. You murdered millions. He's turned you into a murderer just like me. Why is that important? Because she wrote a code that blew up a ship. Why is that important? Because Marco Inaros had a dude that was, had a person on Tycho that was retrofitting the Rocinante. So now we gotta have this stupid fucking thing going around where she smacks the shit out of the Sin dude on the head to get pretty much a message out to Holden to tell him not to turn on the Rocinante's reactor as they're going after the Zemea to be like getting the protomolecule. Why is this problematic to me? Because Holden is not this stupid. Holden would have been like, that bitch is doing stuff for Marco Inaros. Would she have not sabotaged my ship? Would I have not clean swept everything going on and be like, could there be some weird kind of ship thing? Because Marco Inaros claimed the whole shit with the Gamara that made Naomi feel so fucking horrendous and set her on this different kind of path to try and help redeem her own son. Who, by the way, is pretty much just like mad at her because of the whole leaving kind of thing. They try and do some bonding and everything, but everything is so kind of spread out that we don't get enough time to that. Like, if Naomi had gone off on her own and most of the Rocinante crew had stayed intact on the Rocinante dealing with everything, that would have been one thing. But since the crew is pretty much split up until the end, you only get certain pieces and like, Philip has more promise potentially than Marco Inaros, because we see that he's kind of understanding his father being an asshole, because he's like, oh, you want a ship, you want a command? Oh, look at them, they're all chanting my name. You want them to chant your name? Fuck you kind of shit. And I'm like, god damn, he just wants to fucking help you, dude. And even if he wants them to kind of like cheer his name, it's maybe to cheer his name for the deeds that he has accomplished, not because he needs his dick stroked constantly. And that's pretty much the thing. He wants to dominate Naomi because she left once. Let's see. Okay, Holden was able to get that done. Bull decides to, he gets Bull and Monica to help him, some other kind of, Belcher kind of OPA people to help him fly the Rocinante. As they pretty much go up to the Zemea, they're able to take it out, but the thing is, it kind of blew itself up, and they didn't see anything with the proto-molecule until the final episode, which is stupid, because it's all the other different stories and having to be balanced that it kind of deals to it like that, because I've been like, okay, if we don't see anything from the proto-molecule being destroyed or being gone, we need to assume that it was shot off somewhere. Again, they kind of dumbed down Holden for this to work out because the plot demands that that occurs. Mm. We'll put a pause on that stuff. Let us get through Amos and Clarissa's kind of stuff. He is able to get her out. She's kind of fucked up a little bit, but not horrendously. She, of course, has blockers because of her implant. And he's able to get a couple of the guards and big old beef boy to get him into a elevator shaft, and they're able to kind of get up. One of them is pretty much killed by the dude, but there's no hard proof, even though you're like, fucker probably did it. They get on out, and he pretty much kills one of the other dudes, starts to go kind of crazy, but with their 3 kind of might, they're able to take him out, and Amos fucking suplex the motherfucker down the elevator shaft, which was kind of cool. So he, of course, tells the guard lady to go to her kids and everything. Him and Clarissa try and figure out what to do. He, of course, has talked about this whole kind of theory of the churn. You either flip the top or sink to the bottom. Churn is the middle part of that kind of thing going on, and where all the kind of stuff kind of goes nuts. And of course, we see all the chaos going on Earth, with everybody pretty much trying to figure out what's going on, power being out, kind of like the breakdown of civilization and what's going on. We also see that Avasarala has to deal with that as well, as she learns that her husband Arjun is killed during that, and that was kind of hard. She really sold that, the actress, while she's dealing with everything else. Amos and Clarissa pretty much go through, they're like a tribe of 2, we got to take ourselves seriously. So he's like, alright, I got some people in Baltimore, let's go figure out what's going on there. He's able to get to Eric and see that things are kind of going nutty. He's like, listen, this is all kind of gone, so we kind of have to get out of here. So Clarissa pretty much gives him the idea to go to this island, Winnipesaukee, yeah. It's pretty much like the Hamptons kind of rich people. They'd have like a suborbital shuttle, and that's what to do, trying to get off Earth because of everything going on and being crazy. So they're able to pretty much get there pretty quickly with a helicopter, and they find a place. It's like, oh, okay, they see some of the help. They've been left there. It's winter. Really kind of nice and pretty scenery that they've kind of got going on there. Get in, figure out that there's some problems with the shuttle, and they're trying to figure it out. But as they're dealing with that, the security forces for the community are like, hey, just give us your food and everything like that, and we'll all centralize it. Pretty much being the same kind of con people that Eric would be, doing their kind of thing to like shake them down. Of course, they're pretty much getting ready to take him out, but Clarissa's like, no, this is our try. Like, just walk away, get it done. And when Amos tells you to walk away, you fucking walk away. But of course, they know that it's kind of going to come down to that. Amos, of course, kind of does his thinking and is able to figure out it's a power coupling kind of thing that he's got to mess around with. They fix that, and they're like, all right, we're ready to go. But of course, they get assaulted by the security forces, which was very well done because of what was going on with the pandemic. There was not a lot of close-up shots or anything, but it was still effectively done. We see losses on Eric's side, but we also see that Clarissa is able to use her implant to pretty much decimate a group, but they're able to get in the shuttle and get shot off to Luna. That's where they are until they pretty much get finished up with the season. Avasarala gets introduced to pretty much the Minister of Transportation, David Pastor. He pretty much gets sworn in as the Secretary General because of everything that's been going on. He gives a rousing speech of like, yeah, we're going to do everything we can and bring the people who did this to justice. So he gets into his place. Avasarala, of course, is in the cabinet. So is Admiral Delgado, who has been an ally with Avasarala, pretty much telling him, Marco's going to do shit. And poof. So they pretty much try and bring up what's going on. And Delgado's like, you need to fucking hit him back. Hit Pal Station. He's got the most support there. But, of course, it's not like it's a full-blown Marco Renar's faction. There's still civilians there. And, of course, David decides, yeah, that's it. And Delgado was even pushing to, like, taking out Sarah's station. I'm like, no, dude. Never mind the fact that that's a giant place for the Belters. It's a key strategic station Why in the ever-loving fuck would you even entertain that kind of idea? I did not agree with them taking out Palace Station because, as Avasarala pointed out, you kill one innocent, you kill one terrorist that way. You radicalize 10 up. You radicalize 10 new people to continue that on. You just turn them completely against you. You can't win like that. Now, am I saying to do nothing? Fuck no. But you do not take out the people. Not all Belters are with this fucking douche shit. This dick shit motherfucker. So, of course, he pretty much plans to do that. She's like, fuck that shit, I resign. A lot of them resign and pretty much force him out and have Avasarala back into the chair. Now, I don't consider this putting this back into status quo because Avasarala got her ass beat by Nancy Gao, and she was in the best place to kind of do this because she has done this kind of shit before. Nancy should have had the wisdom to listen to her advice in these kind of situations, and she just didn't. And everybody paid the price, and Avasarala is pretty much there to pretty much fix what's going on. Pretty much instituting martial law on Luna and Earth to kind of fix everything going on and try and figure out how to handle everything. What's that? That was on their holding pattern. That into the Rossi. Okay, now it's mainly dealing with the Marco stuff. Naomi is distraught. She's tried to kill Marco, but Philip stopped her. She was like pretty much locked up and told Philip about like the stuff with the rings and all that. And she's just, we see that Marco wants to use the Chesamoka for something, and Philip's like, yeah, go ahead, use it. And evidently he's going to use it as a bomb to pretty much lure in the Rocinante and blow it up. Naomi can't handle this and is going to do something about it. At first you think she's attempting to kill herself, and Sin tries to stop her. But it results in Sin's death, and she of course jumps out and is able to get onto the Chesamoka. And then we have her whole kind of giant just beat down as she's trying to do everything she can to kind of fix that situation. Of course, Philip first warns his mother, but then is pissed off that she left him more, like, as Marco tells it to him. So she's motherfucking mucking around with that kind of shit. Deal with that. But Marco keeps that kind of quiet. Drummer, of course, has been salvaging all these kind of different things, and they're pretty much learning that Marco is not to be trusted. She had put one of her people on as kind of tribute, but of course you know it's a fucking hostage tribute situation. Fuck you, Marco. And she, of course, is sad that Ashford's dead, and then she learns the news that Naomi is dead, and she, of course, feels it hard because hers was the deciding vote to have Marco live, and she goes fucking bonkers and downs the booze that she was going to drink with Ashford and is distraught. Of course, her main lover is trying to like stop her from acting impulsively because in the tribute swap they got Corral as their pretty much babysitter to make sure they do what the fucking Marco and R's Free Navy tells them to do. And she of course like, fuck this shit. She at first was going to like go after Marco but decided not to. And we of course see the different kind of cracks and everything within their kind of group. Let's see. So the Chesamoka is pretty much putting out a Naomi distress signal that's automated. Naomi's able to kind of figure out how to get to it and put it that she is in control. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? So they're pretty much burning to try and get to her. And of course, Drummer wants to kind of go and check what's going on, but of course Corral's like, no, you gotta listen to Marco. Marco, of course, wants to destroy the Rocinante because it is a symbol of inner working. It's the symbol of showing Belters, Earthers, Martians working together and achieving the impossible. It's a powerful symbol that is contradictory to his, I would say Belter supremacy, but that's not even it. He wants to be Dick Cheese. He wants to be the top motherfucker. It's always that power shit. His narrative of the belt having supremacy over everyone would be undone with that symbol still in effect. However, they are kind of losing, they're using up a lot of fuel because of what they were doing to burn after the Zamea. So they're trying to get to the Chesamoka, but they see, of course, all these ships because Marco kind of changes up his plans like, alright, Drummer mixing up with two of his kind of warships that he's gotten from Mars. They're gonna go and they're gonna destroy the Rocinante. But even Drummer's like, that don't make no sense. What the fuck's going on here? Mm-hmm. And of course, once they heard that the transmission was being changed, they're like, it was probably a lie. So we get to pretty much a nice kind of big battle kind of sequence where we're thinking, all right, Holden's plan is pretty much to blast past him and do as much damage as possible to try and give them enough time to get Naomi, because Alex pretty much hooked up with them like, we're going to do this. And they go, let's see, how do we want to do this? Well, let's do Holden's stuff first. Holden and Drummer are kind of in a crazy ass situation. Drummer is able to pretty much take out Kurahal and fire on one of the ships, one of her ships, to kind of stop it. And of course, the other person, her main boo is on that one with another dude, and the other dude's like, what we should have done before, and pretty much they're able to help get it to a point where between them they're able to take out the two heavy hitters. While that's going on, all the different kind of tolls that have been taken, Naomi's like gotten everything to work out. She's able to kind of like make it into a spin. She's able to jump out, and Alex and Bobby are able to see her, and they pull her in. But the sucky part of that is that they are able to save Naomi, but because of all of the hard riding that they have done, Alex has had a stroke and died from all the juice that has gone on. Now, it sucks that that happened, but the thing is, from what I have seen, Alex still has parts to play in the books, and it'll be interesting to see what's going on with this. Now, I understand why they made this move, because there were allegations and investigations into the actor of Alex, and that proceeded to them being like, we don't want to be involved with him anymore. So they pretty much had to take him out, but this was a pretty good send-off for the character, at least, because he died trying to save his family. Okay? And he succeeded. And Naomi, of course, feels horrible because she called him a brave idiot. So we'll kind of have to see how that works out, because we also see that they hook up with them on the Rocinante. We see Bull pretty much having Alex's cup pretty much being shown to be the, not subtly, but enough to be the next one that's going to be the pilot for the Rocinante. Let's see, what are we doing? That all linked up. Drummer did get in contact to talk about that and be like, we're not going to fire on you. It's like, alright, cool, man. Let's see. Holden and Naomi have a really good reunion, talking about how family, sometimes we have to leave them behind, or like Philip or whatnot, or they of course leave us, but the important part is not to never do that again, but to take the new as best as possible and kind of keep going forward and keep that core goodness that you found with that family. And that's a nice message. I like that bit. Seeing her being from her hard vacuum wounds, which, by the way, they fucking did a good job of that. I'm like, god damn. So that kind of worked out that way. They're able to get to Luna. We see that Amos has a nice kind of farewell with Eric. They were going to have a drink, but of course Amos accidentally drops the alcohol bottle. Hey, little help! Weren't able to get to it. Avasarala, of course, has her kind of important kind of victory. But like, see, this, the Rocinante here. Everyone working together. This is a symbol that Marco hates, and that's how we're going to beat him. That's kind of cool to see that. We see also that Bobby is wearing more civilian and kind of earth kind of colors as a liaison to Avasarala, which will be interesting to see how that kind of works out. Well, the thing is, we then find out that Marco has decided to attack the ring, the forces protecting the rings. We see they're using like microclouds, fucking stealth tech again to fucking take out the ships. He's like, yeah, here's my victory kind of thing. And this is where we kind of get the info dump. They're taken out. We see that Martian forces have assisted them, but they're not Martian forces. They're like rogue forces, headed by the Admiral. We see, of course, this is where we get the info that the proto-molecule was taken and that it was launched in a torpedo. That whole motive fucking scene or whatnot, or even figured out, because he's that fucking paranoid about the proto-molecule, usually, until the plot demands that he's not. Sorry. So, they're figuring out that they got to go investigate what's going on there and get everybody back on the ship. They have a nice kind of reunion with Amos. He's like, hey, listen, there's a point where you're like, you were going to kill me if I was going to just stop this. Were you going to do that? Yeah, but now we got each other's back. All right, come on. And he gets Clarissa onto the ship. He's like, yeah, just remember that. Come on, Beaches. That was kind of cool. And Holden's like, just kind of surprised, but he's good with it because he has seen people can change for the better and change for the worse and all the different kind of things. So we'll have to see how her dynamic adds to the Rocinante's crew. And I'm excited to kind of see that because I really like the change of her character, because when she was first introduced, I didn't really like her because I'm like, you bitch. But then they changed her in a nice kind of way. I'm like, yeah, she's done some horrible shit, but she's also helped people and kind of changed her view. And I'm intrigued to see how that goes. Because we'd also seen that Amos was handling some weird shit on Earth, and he pretty much was going to kill this dude to get his weapons and supplies. And the thing is, the dude was going to do it as well. But if he wasn't, would he have still done it? And he figures out that, of course, Holden wouldn't have liked that. And he says that. He's like, I got to get back to my crew because there's moral compass. And it'll be kind of interesting to see how Amos kind of continues on that evolutionary journey and how Clarissa will continue on hers and how they'll inform and change with each other. That's really kind of cool. So, those are the important bits. We then get this giant info dump that pretty much the Admiral wants a pure kind of Mars, so they're going through in order to get this new kind of world that they don't have to terraform and everything and be of one mind and all that kind of shit, because oh yeah, without that kind of like shit to fall back on, you gotta do everything to regulation kind of shit or else you fucking die hard on kind of shit. That's what was the kind of price. Marco got Cortazar and the proto-molecule so that we could control the ring space and everything going on with that, and they of course get their world and they're going to be doing their shit. He's of course pontificating to Babbage, and she's got this little kind of like keepsake from her mother, and he's like, yep, that ain't regulation, give it to me, you little bastard. And she of course is in the process of doing it, but we then of course get the tease and really kind of cliffhanger-y kind of thing. I didn't really kind of like that. I don't mind teases, but this was more into a cliffhanger. They're going through the gate, and the entities that we have seen throughout the anomaly come into play. They are fully awake, and they are doing some shit because it stops. Instead of going through and seeing the weird kind of shit, this is really kind of different because we see the ship's engine lights go out. We see that the ring pudding skin? Membrane? There we go, membrane. Why did I think pudding skin first? Because it was an interesting kind of thing that that kind of weird film that they're going through changes color. Its light goes out, and it's like its reactor engine lights go out. It's like I don't know if they got destroyed or blown up, but it's like, oh shit, that's not good. Well, they also got information that Cortazar is on the planet and is fucking around with the proto-molecule, and it's doing shit with a structure that's in the sky. It's like, god damn it. You fuckers don't learn. You fucking idiots. Sticking the finger in the light socket. But that stuff was more interesting to me than everything going on with Marco and Aros. It was a little bit more scattered than I liked. A lot of characters and stories were put into a holding pattern until certain kind of other plot elements caught up. And this is kind of like the problem of me doing it in a season fashion, because there's a lot more stuff that I would like to go into each kind of episode and break down, but at least I've caught up for this next season. Let's see here. That's kind of my thoughts and everything. Well, there's a lot of, not a lot of, but in the certain instances that you see the plot demanding certain things happen, it does. It is not on the level that I've seen of Supernatural and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything like that. I still enjoyed this season for the good bits and the good character bits that were going on. I still say that this is more positive than negative, but the negatives are worrying to me, and I hope that they kind of address them with a tighter story, have it where you've got at most maybe 3 main things going on at once, and have the Rocinante crew kind of back together, because then I don't mind them being apart. I was like, oh, this was kind of interesting at first. And then when I saw that like one would have to hold off until it caught up with the other, I'm like, that's a problem, and they should have brought them together probably way sooner than at the end. I'm still excited to see what's going on in the next season, especially with the different kind of changes that are going to be going up. So I am here being like, yeah, you watch The Expanse. I'm just like, please, there's better ways to do this. You have done better, please. I'm not trying to hold you to an impossible standard. I just want the standard that you've set, because I really liked the previous 4 seasons. 4th season, I understand, is kind of wobbliness, but this is like the 2nd season of it being on Amazon, so it should have had a little bit better what's going on. So, to kind of get to that, I'm excited for that. I will start reading the books at some point, probably through Timey until I get to season 6, but I will be doing that after like Dune or whatnot, because I got the first book of The Expanse, and then I'll of course get the other ones, and I'm really liking the show, and I want to see how the books kind of go out. So yeah. Also, I say any kind of stuff in the comments or whatnot. I would expound deeper onto certain kind of things, really get into what's going on, but those were my overall opinions on like what's going on in this season. So those are my opinions on this season. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.